Extramarital affairs never begins in the bedroom. They begin in the innocent talks, innocent time together, and innocent touches that seem not to matter. See, most people think extramarital affairs happen in one night of recklessness, or maybe a day you got drunk, or maybe a day that something went wrong. No, extramarital affairs happen because of a series of breaches of boundaries that happen over time, in secret most times. We're going to break down the things that lead to extramarital affairs and why you need to know them. Let's get this correct from the beginning. 55% of all extramarital relationships begin at work. What does that mean? It means that your work, your office, your job is the riskiest place for your marriage. Your marriage is exposed to risk at work. That doesn't mean that work is evil. That doesn't mean that we're not going to work. But that does mean that because of the fact that you spend over 40 hours a week with co-workers, in fact, more time than you spend with your spouse, there's a lot of proximity, there's a lot of time spent together, there's a lot of closeness, solving problems together, talking together, struggling together, doing a lot of things together, sometimes eating together and a lot of things. So there's a bonding, there's an attachment, there's a closeness that happens at work. So if you are not minding your boundaries, it's easy to cross your boundaries, to breach your boundaries, and start a relationship innocently. Innocent time spent together, innocent calls, innocent coffee, innocent compliment. And before you know it, it crosses the line from innocent to something else that is secret. So you need to know as a couple, as a married person, that most of relationships that happen today happen at work. Half of them actually. The number one location for extramarital affairs to happen is at work. So if you know this, you are going to be more careful when you go into work, knowing that people have what they call work wife, work husband, because they spend all day at work sharing coffee together, sharing compliments, sharing a lot of things. So we need to be very mindful of this. We need to understand that if you are not careful, you will cross the line. The next point we need to get clear is opposite sex friends don't stay friends forever. What does that mean? Opposite sex friends over time can shift to opposite sex something else. Feelings shift, seasons change. Somebody can just be a friend, harmless, innocent, innocuous, just friends. But over time, as you talk together, as you mix together, as you spend time together, it starts to shift from just friends to maybe lovers, to maybe best friends, to maybe something else. So most people will tell you if they are opposite sex friends and your spouse is not part of that opposite sex friendship. In other words, you have an opposite sex friendship and your spouse is not part of that. Your spouse doesn't know them. Your spouse doesn't speak to them. You don't speak to them in the presence of your spouse. You should end it because it's not safe. A lot of people say, well, it's just a friend. We just understand ourselves. We just get along together. We just work together. Yes, you are correct for today, but you may not be correct forever. Why? Because he or she today is just opposite sex friend. But as seasons change and as feelings flow, they may flow from just opposite sex friend to opposite sex admirer or opposite sex something else. And if you don't watch it, an extramarital relationship will happen sooner. Another hard truth about extramarital affairs is this, and I want you to get this. If you're exposed to your exes, you are exposed to extramarital affairs. Let me say that again. If you are exposed to your exes, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, ex-this, ex-that, if you're exposed to them, you are exposed to extramarital affairs. What does that mean? It does mean that memories don't die. Memories are like volcanoes. They may not be active, but that doesn't mean they've died. When you are exposing yourself to an ex understands you. You know, there are things they know about you that other people don't know. You know, you don't need a lot of time to activate those things. They already know you. They already know your secrets. They already know your weak points. They already know a lot of things about you. So when you get together, those memories that are quiet, that are silent, can actually be activated in seconds, in minutes. So if you are exposing yourself to ex-boyfriends or ex-girlfriends or even ex-spouses, your ex-wife, your ex-husband, you are exposing yourself to extramarital affairs. It's as simple as that. The statistics is startling. We have startling statistics that so many extramarital relationships actually start by people exposing themselves to their exes, whether in a gym or in a church or at work or in your neighborhood, whatever the setting is. Exposing yourself to your exes immediately exposes you. The fourth point that you must know about extramarital affairs is if you can't afford to be transparent, it means you are already transgressing. Period. It's as simple as that. There's no gray areas. See, there's a truth between transparency and truth. Truth is, where were you yesterday night? You tell where you were. Who were you with? You say who you were. That's true. Transparency is different. Transparency means you are not waiting to be asked. Transparency means you are not waiting to be prompted. You are not waiting to be investigated. So you are not waiting for your spouse or your wife to ask you, let me see your phone. You are willing to give your phone. You are willing to say where you were. You are willing to say who you were with. You are willing to say what you were discussing. You are willing to say how long you spent. You are willing to say where you went and what you did. That's transparency. If you can't afford to be transparent, you are already transgressing. So it's not like saying, no, we need to understand this and understand it very well. If you are married and you can't be transparent with your spouse about who you are talking to, whether on the phone or physically, what you are discussing, how long you spent talking about that. If you can't be very open about it, very transparent about that, if you need to be investigated, to be prompted, if you need to be asked before you say it, it's because you are transgressing, it's because you are hiding something. And really relationships, extramarital relationships, they thrive is secrecy. Secrecy is actually the seal. If you are keeping something you are sharing with somebody else secret, you are transgressing. It means that you are very close. You are closer to an extramarital affair than you want to accept. It is important, very important for us to know that affairs affect more than the two people involved. One man put it this way: affairs affect the village, not just the villain. What does that mean? When there's an extramarital affair, there's infidelity, there's cheating. The church community is involved. Your work is involved. Your parents are involved. Your children are involved. Your employers are involved. Everybody's involved. It's not just the two people involved. It's not just the villain. It's not just the people that cheated. Everybody's going to suffer in one way or the other. Everybody's going to pay a price in one way or the other, especially the children, your husband, your parents, your church, your pastor. Everybody's going to be involved. Everybody's going to be stressed. Everybody's going to like, what is happening? So you need to understand this so that when you are tempted to cross the line, when you are tempted to break a breach, when you are tempted to do what you're not supposed to do, you will know that it's not harmless. Many people say it's just a harmless thing. No, it's not harmless. In any way, it's not harmless. People are going to be harmed. And far more people are going to be harmed that most people believe. Most people who are married give marriage level attention, marriage level affection, marriage level validation to people who they are not married to. And I'm not talking about complimenting somebody once in a while. Consistently, they give this romantic attention, romantic affection, romantic validation to people that they are not married to. And they say, well, nobody's harmed. Every emotional affair is as destructive as every other physical or sexual affair. There's no difference. Because when you start to give this marriage level attention, affection, validation to people who are not your spouse, you start to break the bond with your spouse. The other people that you are giving attention starts to compete with your spouse in your heart. That is why we say your heart always cheats before your hand. Let me say that again. Your heart always cheats before your hand. The Bible said in Matthew 5:28, if you think in your heart, if you imagine in your heart to do this or to do that, you have already done it. So yes, you may say, I've not touched him, I've not touched her, we've not been in secret, we've not done anything. But in your heart, in your thoughts, in your emotions, you have been sharing things that you're supposed to only share with your spouse, and that's cheating. So if you are just saying, well, we're just texting, we're just doing that, we're not doing that, the text is always, can you share the text you are sharing with your co-worker, with your spouse, with your husband, with your wife? If you can't show it to them, you are cheating. The seventh point I want us to look at, and that's the last point, is when there's cheating, when there's an extramarital affair, when things go wrong, repair is possible, but repair takes a lot of time. You must understand that. Repair takes a lot of transparency. Again, not truth. People think, well, if they ask me, I will tell them. If they ask me where I went to, I will tell them. That's truth. What you need to repair a relationship that's ruptured is not truth. What you need to repair a relationship that's ruptured is transparency. That means before they ask you where you went to, you already tell it. Before they ask you what you were doing, what you did, where you went to, who you were with, before they ask to see your phone, before they ask all these things that can breed suspicion, you're already giving the information. But still, it will take a lot of time because they've been hurt. Sometimes there's trauma. Sometimes there's a lot of grief. And people grieve differently. The way one person processes cheating or processes these things are different. So you are going to give them a lot of time to repair. The trust is broken. It will take a lot of time for the trust to be repaired. So it's not something that you say, well, something happened and I don't understand why it has not been forgiven. I don't understand why it's still an issue. It's going to take time. Repairing broken trust takes a lot of time, takes a lot of transparency, takes a lot of trusting again. If you think I missed any of the truth, any of the hard truths about extramarital affair, let's see them in the comment below. If you're a returning viewer, don't forget to subscribe. If you are new to this channel, my name is JP4. See you in the next one.